All right, so just a reminder, you all probably saw the reminder that sessions are being recorded, and one final time acknowledging the organizations that fund our work and make this type of work possible. So we thank all of them. And then our goal today, we've had a different goal every day. Today is to learn from one another and spotlight best practices. We will probably spend a lot of time in conversation about what you've learned today. And since there's such a small group, we could actually workshop some of your plans and any concerns you might have moving forward. So this should be a great opportunity for you to get some in-depth advice. Today is the show and tell / pitch day. So we will hear from you as well, and we'll describe what that's going to look like here in just a second. So what we're hoping to hear from you relates to the last 3 sessions. So ultimately the question is, what do you plan to implement? You know, from the things that you've picked up from our presentations over the past 3 sessions. Is there a specific thing, a specific way you're going to display or, you know, show your brand or show your product that you may have picked up from Ellen on Monday? Are there tips and tricks, favorite tips and tricks you may have picked up from Zach and myself, Zach and me, on the very first session that Monday of last week? Are there specific best practices that you picked up from the market managers that shared with you last Wednesday, which unfortunately I wasn't able to attend? So to find out what it is that resonates with you, what you think the best of the best advice is, so that we can learn from you, so that everyone can learn from each other's preferences and aha moments. We're probably gonna do this a little bit differently. So the highlights are going to be really all throughout, and then we were going to offer up some swag to our favorite, you know, 3 or 4. And since it looks like there are only 3 or 4 of us there, I think you're all going to get some swag.
Automatic winners. That's amazing.
Yay. You are the winners. You are. Don't tell anybody else, but you are our favorite, right? You are our favorites. And then we'll take a quick look at what's next. What's next for you? What resources can you tap into that we might have available? So what we were going to do is break out into breakout rooms, but with only the small group here. I'd rather we just go around the room and talk about these things. I'm actually going to plug these 3 topics in the chat and stop sharing so we can just spend some time together today. So what I'd like to hear from the 4 of you who have joined us, and we'll just go down the list here. The first one would be, you know, favorite tips and tricks, things that and if you can't come up with any one of these categories, that's fine. But what we'd like to hear are any favorite tips and tricks. Let's just open the whole thing up. Let's just open the whole thing up and spend some time, just your favorite takeaways from these last 3 sessions, if that's okay with you. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Robin.
Okay. To have that origin story available, like ready, like know it, like, so that's always good, because sometimes I'm an author, and so I have a booth with books and everything, and so sometimes I, you know, maybe having a few of those things prepared would be good. I already had been going vertical. I already had banners. I already had some of those things, so I'm just kind of tightening those things up. I did, after Ellen's thing, order like a rubber stamp with my logo on it, so I can do some things. So yeah, so I did that. I already had like little stickers and a few other things that I give out. But the one of them was just to actually ask people to buy. That was one of those things that, like, I go all the way up and I know I have them hooked and interested, and then I always have trouble with that last little, like, and that not to be afraid to do that. And so that's hard. Like, so even on my website, I've been going through and all my blog posts and everything, having the buy button and the button that's sign up for my mailing list, which I'm finally getting that together and starting to do a newsletter and get on the email stuff, even though I've been doing this for a long time. It's just trying to push it to that next level.
Excellent. Excellent. Those are
Bravo.
all great.
Good job.
So,
Robin, I'm curious, do you have, you mentioned that origin story. Do you have something in your display that might help prompt somebody to ask you about that origin story, or some sort of prop that you can use as you're telling that origin story? I'm sitting in a business here in Adair Village. They've got a nice picture of sort of their family, or I don't know, something that kind of, you know, harkens back to why they're doing this. Do you have anything like that that you might add to your display?
Maybe it could even just be a picture as simple because like my because I write fiction novel, like urban fantasy novels, but also my money makers are actually my nonfiction creative writing books. So I taught English for 24 years. And so it's kind of it's like my love of teaching, love of writing, and photography. So I have, you know, photo prompts, like, and I have story starters and all sorts of things. So like anybody that just needs inspiration on getting words on the page, my stuff helps with that. Wherever you're at, whether you're experienced or you're inexperienced, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I could try to hook something in there with teaching or something like that. That's something I hadn't thought of.
I have a photo. I'm a former teacher too, so I have a photo of me teaching, and I feel like I use that a lot in all my slides and stuff, just to sort of give background. You get tons of credibility, right? When they're like, "Oh, there she is in front of students," like, "Yep,
Yeah.
legit story." So, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, and even better too is like if you have that prop, almost not to prompt the client to ask you, but to make it easier for you to ask them for their business or to get out, you know, that elevator pitch. That's always something good to have. I mean, you don't want to be just robotic. You're a person too, you know. So people are interested, especially if they're the ones attending like a farmer's market or street fair type of deal. They like buying local, they like and are interested in your story. So any props like that you can use to like as that conversation starter, I think that's a great point by Nate. Very cool.
Ellen.
Robin, would you be willing to drop your website in the chat for us?
Sure.
I would love to look at your stuff.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
My husband wants to write books, so you know I could send this his way.
and you all are far more familiar from the vendor side, the types of conversations that are had, but from one who goes to markets, you know, I know that every time I walk into a booth, I'll say something like, "So what do we got?" or "Tell me about yourself," or, you know, just almost every time I walk into somebody's space, I will, you know, I ask a question like that. And I would have to imagine that's fairly common. And that question is a prompt. That question is the prompt for your origin story, you know. So tell me about yourself. I mean, that's pretty easy. Well, tell you what, this is why I'm doing this work. Which is why I think it's a really powerful story. I'm really glad you're implementing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm glad that had impact on asking them to buy it. It's such a crucial thing. Like some business owners will drive themselves crazy, and that was like the one thing that they were just missing is like closing that deal, you know, when you have them in front of you, because everybody is going to tell you, no matter what product you have, they're going to tell you they like it, but will they bring their credit card out? And you're not going to figure that out unless you put them to that decision. So I'm glad you caught on to that.
And Zach, would you restate kind of the best practice that you've heard? Like what is the phrase? Is the phrase, you know, would you like to, I mean, is it literally, would you like to buy one? Or is it, what do you literally say?
Well, in like, the reason I put that in more of the advanced category is that I think if you want to ask them to buy, but if you do it the wrong way, it can turn them off at a crucial moment of when they're making that decision. So just like how we have, you know, prepped with like our elevator pitch or our origin story, have some sayings in your back pocket. Can I wrap this up for you? It is a softer type of close. Can I ring this up? Or like, you know, little things like that. It doesn't have to be as hard nosed as like, are you going to buy this right now? You know, you don't. So it depends on your product. I mean, I always was like a pretty aggressive person with when I would ask people to buy it, but I'd say it with a big smile and had been treating them like royalty already. So it's like, hey, so you want to buy it? Like that type of thing. I don't know. It's going to be kind of dependent upon your personality. I would just avoid things that are like open-ended, where it's like, what do you think of? What do you think? It is a bad, dangerous one that like feels like you're asking and it's not.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone, well, what do you think? I mean, and then you get to that kind of, you're like, I wanted you to say I wanted to buy it, but you didn't. So now I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So I think just taking it slow on what you're comfortable with is most important. And then you'll see like certain stuff that you say stands out and gets like quicker yeses, and you can implement that in there. So, but you know,
Yeah, I think you're
try
right
it
though.
out. You're not going to see these people again. Try out whatever you want. You know, if you mess up, you go to the next one. Like hopefully your, you know, sales are coming in and you'll have future opportunities. So don't be afraid to mess up with it. But yeah, find whatever language you like. Can I wrap you up? Can I ring you up? Would you like to take it? All right, so do we got a deal? You want to buy this? Like all of those, like where you're putting them to an actual yes and no. Stay away from the what do you thinks or call me back, or if you have any questions, call me. If here's my email address, here's my card. Try to those are like you are feeling the same awkwardness that the client is, and you're trying to dive out of feeling awkward, and you're really right at that barrier to be able to close that sale. So push through it. I mean, you're closer than you think that you are. So,
You know, and there's another lesson in there that we didn't really tie it together in day one, but in your origin story, Robin, is also telling your why, right? It's describing why this is important to you, which should make that sale much more convincing, right? Because it's not just are you wanting, you want to take this home? It's not just the transaction that you're then communicating. It's their part in your story. You know, that by taking this home, they are helping you perpetuate this this mission that you're on, doing this work. So they do tie together well.
yeah, well said.
Yeah, that's great.
Cindy,
you.
how about you? What are you taking away?
Oh, okay. I'm taking away notes right this moment. Okay, I just write sale and then I'm done. Okay. I really like that origin story, and pretty much I have that quite strongly. I've been using that a lot. I also liked, I think you weren't there, Robert, when maybe you were, when he was talking about the story letter. And I liked a story letter, and I am going to put that. It's basically the origin story. He said it's your where you were, where you are, and where you're going, and and put that in with everything that you sell. I like that a lot. So I'm wanting to put that together. I want to tell you guys though. Well, there's a few things. One is in about next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, I'm going to Germany to the to the largest outdoor retailer convention. It's a trade show. So everything that you've taught me is definitely being applied there in a big event. But
Very cool.
yeah, anyhow, since I've got all of you guys here and there's not a lot of people, I want to tell you what I'm working on, because I don't know exactly what is the best thing to do. I want to start selling, but I don't really know what I'm selling at this point. I know my why, but I don't know my what. And So here's an example. Okay, this is a Christmas ornament, which I know when I get back, it's going to be too late to do these. But the idea is you put a picture on one side, and then I'm really into the QR code. So you videotape, you do anything on your phone, and then you create the QR code. So on the back of it, you've got the QR, and then you put it every year on your Christmas tree, and it becomes more valuable every year. And that's what I have a good story about. But that's only one thing. I've done this, which I think some of you have seen before. It's a cup with an embedded QR code that goes to rotating events. So you can see this whole idea that I got when I go to Europe, I'm going to get souvenirs, take movies with my phone, and then create on the put a sticker on my souvenirs. And anytime I want, I can just look at a memory of what I did by just tapping my souvenir. So I don't know if it's if I have those links, if that's what I'm selling, or if I'm selling actually a specific product. Like I was thinking soap. I watched something on how to make soap yesterday. Now I want to make soap. So if I'm making soap, I'm thinking, oh, that'd be kind of cool. Put a little wrapper around it, you know, that would go to a Spotify playlist. So you have soap and you enjoy a spa thing. So I don't know what it is exactly I'm selling.
Well, Cindy, what if you had to guess, what would you guess right now?
Right now, of course, it's a Christmas ornament, but next month it won't be the Christmas. Well, almost.
Okay, I would argue, and we can workshop this, but I would argue that you are selling feelings and memories.
Yes. Okay.
So your ornaments and all this stuff are just delivery methods for you delivering that feeling to someone and that memory to someone.
Great.
So when you're selling, you want to try to, like, the question I would ask someone would be, how amazing would it be to capture your memories in this ornament that you can revisit every year that you put it on your tree? You want to elicit the feeling that they get 5 years from now when they scan that QR code and, you know, hear their, you know, younger children laughing on Christmas morning or whatever, that you're literally selling them back their own experiences and memories.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's the delivery method is different. So I would focus on the emotional side of what that does, like, because is there anything special about the ornament? Like if you put, oh, well, there's a QR code, and the technical stuff of it, I think, is missing the point of what it actually does for your client, which is make them feel a certain way. And then also you can differentiate that by feelings, like you mentioned for the soaps, for a spa type of thing. That's going to be a different type of approach. You're selling more of like, hey, long rough day, and you want to unwind. How amazing would it feel to have this, like, automatically have your favorite songs playing or whatever, right? You're selling that feeling of being in the spa. So if you have different products like that are different feeling elicitors or different memory elicitors, maybe those are your type of verticals that you have. But the delivery method of the QR code is just whatever you think is cool and what people will pick up. So try to focus on that. You are selling them that memory with their kids.
Okay.
And I would argue too, when you have an emotional product like this, that you can be a little bit more aggressive even with your sales, just because it's like, you know, you can kind of in a way question anyone that wouldn't want your product because it's like, who doesn't want, you know, those memories or those feelings that they had before? You know, it's a cool, I like that type of deal. So focus on selling what that feeling is as opposed to the product itself.
Okay, and you don't have a problem with me having several different things, because I've also been told in the past I should only focus on one thing, and it's like impossible to focus on just one thing.
So
Oh, go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to say, to Zach's point, the thing that you are selling, the actual tangible thing, is a process that is connecting a memory in the form of whatever forms you can do with a QR code. That's the thing you're selling. You're not selling mugs. You're not selling the item that the QR code is on. That's the delivery method, as Zach points out. That's the delivery method for the memory that's embedded in the QR code. And I think from a business standpoint, really thinking about the long-term impact of that. So somebody records a video and you create a QR code that you put on the back of an ornament that goes to them. In 5 years, how do we know that video is still going to be available to them? I think there's a sort of a longevity, a sustainability process that needs to be, maybe you've already figured it out, but it's definitely a question that I would have. But I think what you're selling is that, connecting the memory to the QR code. It's not actually the item itself. The item could be anything at all. It's kind of like coffee press, where you've got this nice image that you want to put on a mug and a shirt and a poster and a car wrap. And it's the same. All coffee press is doing is selling the ability to put this item on something. You're selling putting a memory on a QR code that could be attached to anything. That's the way I see it.
So you can have, I don't like having a million different choices because it confuses people. So if you had 40 different ornaments that do the same thing, I'd be like, hey, pick your favorite 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like different items, I love it because you can, like, let's say you have like in your your portfolio, you've got 10 different items or 20 different items that you like to do. You can self-heal your menu if stuff isn't selling, because ultimately you're still selling the same exact thing, which is the connection to that memory or that feeling. So I think you're free to let your creativity run. And just if you're tracking your numbers and your sales, if something doesn't sell as much, throw a different thing into the rotation. So I think for having number of products, I think you're fine as long as you're not having like, you put it on 45 different scents of candles. I mean, maybe that might be a little much, because again, that's just the delivery mechanism. It's far less important to the memory itself. I mean, and I can't tell you how much I love these type of sales pitches, because they do just like stab people in the heart. Like, I started this because as my kids were getting older, I felt like I was losing some of those memories. And this was an amazing way that I could tangibly hold those in my hand, scan them whenever I wanted. Do you know how, like, imagine the smile on my face, being able to hear that laughter, that memory from, Christmases past or from holidays past, that type of stuff, it just grabs people.
Yeah, Zach, that's fairly close to my origin story, except it was my son who was going through the ornaments, and we had the old style, and I collect them every year, and the only ones he cared about were the ones where they had their voices recorded.
Yeah.
And they had quit working, a lot of them quit working, so I had to update the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, it's touching. I love it. Focus on that emotion. The object itself is, I think, you want a good product. Don't be just throwing QR codes on anything, do stuff that you like. But I think
stickers are big for what I'm doing, a sticker.
Yeah, great. Yeah, the sticker. Yeah,
and they can put it wherever they want.
For sure. Absolutely.
Nate, your hand's been up for a while.
Yeah, I feel like Cindy, you make me think about my mother, who I think what you're selling is I think she would want this, but she wouldn't know how to do it. So if you provided her a way to get all of her kids, every kid is going to get a mug, and she could just email you, photos, and then you would stick in the mail. She'd get in the mail a month later, a box of 4 mugs that she could give to her kids, and each one had a, QR code that went to those 4 photos, or, so she could, you're selling the service to put this all together for somebody with that QR code where it's going to host something. That's my sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
it Definitely can be that way, for sure.
I think there's a market in onesies with images on the front, QR code images on the fronts of onesies, because the onesies will never be given away. They'll never go away. I'm thinking, brand new babies. I think there's definitely a market there.
Yeah, I love
Patrick.
that. I think that's what Nate's talking about. It's more of like the fulfillment and ease of use. But even that, like to Robert's point, how did you phrase it, Robert? I'm just thinking about like when you're getting to the point of asking them to buy, when they ask the question of, well, how do I know that this is there? That's actually dragging your brain or the client's brain out of the emotional side and thinking more in like a fight or flight, like reptilian brain type of thing. I know if you've never heard of that, don't worry about it. But if effectively I would close on that statement, well, like, so if I could show you a way that those memories were saved forever, would you buy this right now? Because you can address that, the longevity of those things being there, but I wouldn't add that in your sales pitch itself.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
Fair
let them bring that up, because it's a departure of where you're getting. An emotional brain is not necessarily a logical one, and that's why a salesperson loves that brain, because you can get people to do almost illogical stuff. You're separating them from their money. Right? I'm sure as valuable as your product is, there's probably something else that they could better use their dollar. So you're detaching them from that logical side. The way that you seize when they start going on that logical side, like Robert said, well, how do I know that those are there? Well, let me ask you this. If I could show you a way where you knew that those are going to be there in 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, do you think you'd buy this from me right now? Because all often than not, that's not even a real objection. And they're just coming up with something to get you off of the fact that you're grabbing onto their heartstrings. So, I mean, have those things, the technical stuff like Nate was talking about, and like how those images and things are protected, have that in your back pocket so you can overcome that objection. But I would try to avoid having that in the pitch. You can just say words like forever anyways, right? If they're really concerned about it, they'll ask. And if you close on that question, well, if I could show you that they'll be there in 20 years, is this something you think you'd buy? Because if they say no right then who cares about their objection? We would call it, I mean, it's like we call it getting stroked. I mean, they're just kind of like, they're like you're a cat, like, oh, nice dog or nice kitty. Like, do you actually want to buy us? Oh, well, no. Well, then why did it matter if these things can expire in a certain amount of years? So try to stay in when they ask a logical question like that. That is a buying question. You can seize on it and close on that right then and say, so if well, let me ask you this, do you like it enough that if you knew those things were here forever, you'd buy it? And then if they say yes to that, then it's just as simple as, we put it in this, it's housed through this network. So I would probably lean on Amazon or Google and just say, look, as long as those companies are hosting websites, it'll survive.
Yeah.
And you've got the sale. So I know that's pretty advanced, but try to think about that when they'll try to deviate from like you talking about like your mom or your son or your history and their memories, like getting the memory from them. Like, think about this, you're showing it to them. Ask them what memory they would put on it. Even if they're not going to buy, you're not even at the point of asking them to buy. Guys, so we do these ornaments, you can put the QR code. What would you put on there?
Yeah.
You're going to suck their brain into that memory, and then you can ask them questions about the memory. How does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Like, does it make you feel good, thinking about those type of things? How does it make you feel? And get them to start talking. And then you're literally selling them back. The ornaments, the vehicle, you're just selling them back what they just told you was important to them. That's pro level sales.
And then I can put it on the cup for a different time of year and different things for different times of year. So that's how I would.
100%. How many? So we have these ornaments, guys, but how many other occasions do you have in your life that are important to you? What besides Christmas? What is your other favorite thing? Do you have a favorite? And you don't even need to lead them. They might say anniversary or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. What about that memory is important to you? What do you love the most about it?
Another thing I have.
Jack, you should just go on tour with Cindy. I think okay.
I want to make sure,
I get fired up
Patrick
about
and
this
Aisha
stuff.
get an opportunity to share as well. So,
Yes.
hey, Patrick,
Hello, my name's Patrick Waslick. I'm the owner of Cascade Salt, making sea salt, a finishing salt from seawater here in Florence. And I'm in the planning phase. And so everything's coming together, and this boot camp for marketing was very timely for me, since I'm focusing on going boutique and then going to farmers markets. You know, I used to walk through farmers markets looking at all the stands thinking, I want to do that someday. And then not knowing how to put all that together or what that would look like, or if it did even ever be me. Seeing all the building blocks that you guys presented that really helped out, like the bar height table with the being able to store all your tubs underneath, using up that real estate, the high stool so you don't wear yourself out standing all day, and then engaging the public like that, because I've walked by many of market vendors and they're just playing on their phone, sitting off to the side, and I didn't want to bother them. And so selling salt in that vertical display, it's either in bags or it's in jars, that takes up a lot. It's appealing to the eye, but it's also selling salt is you get your first buy, but I know with seasonings it's a trust thing. People will try your seasonings and it goes on a special dish, and you wonder sometimes, I'm putting this new seasoning on, how's this going to turn out? You don't know. And so when you build that trust and it tastes good to them and it makes it a wonderful experience for all the people that would eat their meals, I am like anybody else. If I have a taste for a certain seasoning, I will go far out of my way to a certain shop to acquire that seasoning. So that creates loyalty. And I know that within the market, at like a farmer's market, building that trust there is going to be important in order for that return buyer.
yeah.
Patrick, do you have something where people could try it at a booth? Like, is there some sort of dish or I'm trying to think of something that would last for hours that you could offer a sample, or maybe people just, I don't know. Yeah.
I've seen people use like little plastic spoons and just say, hey, do you want a sample of this? And they just use their little baby spoon, give you a little sample, put it on your hand. And it's like a whole experience one-on-one.
That's a good idea.
I bought sea salt that way.
That's really a good idea, because it's hard to, part of my journey is educating people the importance of really good sea salt and knowing the difference of how it tastes from other salts. What ruins the other salts, the way they're processed and they're being made. And so that's good information. Like they put the kind of salt I make on dark chocolates.
Ooh.
They sprinkle on top the toffee with the salt, and and it's the big crystals. It's appealing to the eye. And
Yeah.
What if you
Super
tried
cool.
them on different chocolates and you had like a taster setup of like on milk chocolate, on a dark chocolate, and like, or they're all dark chocolate, but they have your different seasonings on each one.
that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, Nate, connect him with your chocolate person. If they start using his salt, it could be a little cross promotion. That'd be cool. Patrick, the thing I would urge you to consider, just kind of like what we're talking with Cindy about, I love what you just said, because I was thinking like, well, so if we're talking about selling memories, right, with Cindy's stuff, that's an easy emotional sell. how do you attach someone emotionally to salt? And you already did it, dude. So I'm super proud of you. Like having a chef and be secure in the product that they're delivering through the integrity of the product that you're offering. You know, you aren't just selling salt, you're selling security, and then that kind of the prestige of that finished product because of the care that was taken by, you know, you in delivering the ingredients. I love that. Don't lose that and keep focused on that as what you're selling, because again, if you start selling salt, it's hard to sell salt, right? It's
It is.
not hard to sell that security and that kind of like, you know, for it, questions like this, like, are you just kind of like, you know, don't really care when you're cooking, or do you really care about, you know, the food that your family eats? Right? You're steering them with that question because no one wants to be the one, I don't care. Right? So you're okay. So you do care. Well, that's why I'm here, is for chefs that actually do care about that finished product. And here's my little differences. Do you want to buy it? You know, I love that, because when you're selling like a commodity type of, even if it is boutique and gourmet, you really need to tickle people's brains into, you know, the fact that they're not just buying, you know, salt, right?
Yep.
So good
Yep.
stuff. I love it.
No, that helps out a lot. It helps me to, you know, get used to more of a dialogue and have, and there's only so many different dialogues I'm going to have. I realize that I'm going to get repeat conversations. And so that gives me, thank you.
Yeah, I think there's an experience in here similar to like olive oil bars, and you know that, you know, there's an experience here that can open people up to this idea that, oh, there's more than just Morton's, right? There's more than just the big tub of salt you buy at the grocery store, and that's I think there's a unique an opportunity to give people a new experience. Need to move on to Aisha.
Great job,
Aisha,
Patrick.
are you able to join us today?
Yes, sorry, I can't change my background picture for whatever reason. It would be like me on me on me.
It's a great photo.
Yeah, perhaps
no
you'll
worries.
have to be, yes, that's a newish photo. So that's a representation of me.
Perfect.
But thanks again. My name's Aisha, and my company is called Emisha Wellness. And what we do is encourage and support multiple pathways to health for companion animals. How we do that is by offering nourishing products that are ancient remedies and also information. So we're really combining and balancing science, indigenous knowledge, and healing practices and lived pet parent experience. So my business came about after living 16 years with my two dogs, Zeus and Caesar. So that's a little bit about us, and to share what I've taken away from these sessions. I have learned a lot, but whether that's from just having additional resource like EventSure or Thimble.com, I really appreciated those kind of things. Like it's good to have places to go outside of just regular old Google and things like that. So that was very helpful for me. I also really appreciated, again, like a reminder to bring the visual of my story to the discussion. And that's something that I'm definitely gonna add into it. We've done some markets and want to expand into more. And so it was very helpful to hear how visually I can continue to tell the story, because oftentimes I'll get into conversation, but like one great way is for people to be able to come up to the booth and perhaps be able to learn about us while they're, you know, perhaps waiting to be talked to real quickly, or engage with the booth that way. It was great to reinforce to continue doing more vertical. So that's something that I had started to do, and I'll definitely look for more ways to encourage that. And yeah, so I've really appreciated that. One of the things that I also think this time together with all of the expertise that's been offered is like, we're launching teas. So the thing about Emisha Wellness is a lot of our offerings are for the whole family. So they're human grade things. So teas that actually have been in used for thousands of years for animals and also people. So just really encouraging that engagement across things. So some things I might start doing is having samples of the teas at the table, you know, and or random coloring book pages, little coloring book pages of animals that are kind of fun for the children when they come up as well. So these are some of the takeaways, some of the things that I believe we're going to implement. And yeah, hopefully that was a 12:45.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for
Love it.
that. Thank you for that. And I believe you're working with our RainCap director, Nathan Lilligard as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
excellent. Excellent.
One thing that I
um,
might, Robert, sorry, I didn't want to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
One thing, Aisha, when I was listening to you is, Robert and I took this training about helping businesses become destinations, and sort of how do you, and one thing that struck me is that sometimes they talk about businesses, kind of what I thought I heard from you, where they have a lot of good products and kind of a big offering. And this gentleman doing the training suggested that sometimes it's effective if you have like a signature offering, or even if you're offering a lot, but you kind of say, hey, here's our, you know, we're really known for this
Yes.
thing. It's kind of like your bestseller. It's your, you know, and then you go, and by the way, we also have these other things, but it's sort of like, sometimes it's helpful to have your, yeah, I think he called it a signature product, your
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
champion. Okay.
Agreed. And we do. We actually have a hemp CBD dog chew that is our signature product, and that's kind of the one that's in a couple of local stores in Eugene. And also, to your point, is when someone says, well, what are you known for? Is that's kind of the conversation that we start with, and then let it evolve to other concepts, because a lot of people are still like, what, teas for animals? I don't, you know, like, so we could get to that, but we start at the CBD dog chews, right? The easier concepts. Yes, my stuff is at Wags. Kind of go from there. So like we have medicinal mushrooms, which that's also another conversation and a little more in depth, but yes, we go as deep as people want to, but starting the conversation, usually people can understand the dog chews and things such as that.
I
Smart.
do
Very
absolutely love that you have, or the ideas on some of those preliminary things, because if you do have a product where your sales pitch is a little bit more long-winded, right? Where when you do have someone engaged, you're explaining them, they're asking a bunch of questions, right? I love that you have something else to keep people engaged at your stand too, because if they're not being touched, they'll eventually walk away. But you can use that conversation you're having with that one person. They're going to still see you interacting. So you're almost teeing yourself up for that next one, which is fantastic. And then all of you guys will see, as your booths get more and more successful, and people start, like, where you do have a line and a couple of people gathered around, that is the absolute, over all of the setup stuff we've talked about, people standing at your booth are the absolute biggest marketing and pull for additional people. It just, if you have a bunch of backs standing around, people want to know what it is. So having something that engages them is so savvy. I'm like, love that you brought that up. So great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Excellent. Well, we we had a small group, but we more than used our time. Great conversation. Certainly hope that you enjoyed, got something out of today in addition to the rest of the program. I have a slide, but I'm just going to go ahead and pop everything right here in the chat. And I know this was your task, Ellen, but I'm taking it over. Sorry about that. So for sake of time, 3 things. The first thing up there, the submission deadline next Tuesday is for the Rain Holiday Gift Guide. We do put together a gift guide each year, have been. You do need to be able to ship the product. But if you're interested in if you have a product and you would like to offer it up in our gift guide this year, you can go to that first link, the forms link, to do that, to get attached to that guide. There you can, for those of you who are in our communities, which are Lane, Lynn, Benton counties, John Day, Prairie City, Canyon City, out in Grant, we do have ongoing mentoring. So you have RAIN mentors in your space that can help you. And if you're not in those areas, feel free to reach out to me directly. There is the RainCap Masterclass for those of you who are interested in kind of identifying what your options are for funding in the future and or building out your business plan. This is a free online training program we've put together. That's in underneath the RainCap Masterclass there. You can link to that. And the last thing, and we didn't leave ourselves a few minutes to do this here, but that last link is for a testimonial for the boot camp. If you found that this was of value to you and wanted to share a few kind words, that would be wonderful. Our funders do not know what's going on until we tell them. And when we can add kind words from our clients to that, it's really beneficial because we're only going to say great things. But when they hear those great things from our clients, it makes all the difference. So if you could fill out that form, that'd be marvelous. All right. Nate, Ellen, Zach, anything else?
Yeah, thanks for everybody for participating. We'll see if maybe we do this again next year, and we'll bring you all back as expert speakers. Talk about your.
Cindy's
Awesome.
showing us her.
This is my pattern that I came up with.
Awesome. Good job.
Super cool.
Very cool.
Beautiful.
I'm proud of you. I'm happy to hear
Did
you
it-
guys
did it-
using it.
Does anyone need anything else? I've got some time. I'm happy to stay and answer questions if anyone needs. If not, we can sign on off.
Beth, I'd like to talk with you for a few minutes after, if you don't.
Sure.
mind.
Yeah. If Nate, if you leave, does it end it for me too? Or if I'm a co-host, does it stay on?
I can make you a host, so we'll allow it to stay. Yep.
Sweet.
Okay.
Does everyone
All
like
right.
know how to schedule one-on-one meetings with us if anyone needs additional support? You have that link.
Yeah, and if folks go to our website as well, there's a little chat icon in the bottom right that'll pop up, and you can book time with any of our venture catalysts through that system as well.
Okay.
Perfect.
And if all else fails, just reach back out to Nate, who's been sending you emails about this, and we'll get you hooked up.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.